of this video is to give a brief overview of the A3 proposal assignment models so that you can understand what I'm looking for and what kinds of choices you want to consider for your group's proposal. The first one that we're going to look at here is actually a proposal that earned a high B, which means that it still had some issues that it needed to solve, but I wanted to use it as a way to show you some of the things that it did well. One of the big things that this proposal was particularly attentive to, the group that was working on it, paid attention to formatting. So as we scroll through, you can see that they're using Microsoft Styles and they're making sure that they've got good headers and overall are using formatting to their advantage. This report looks really solid because they're paying attention to the ways formatting can be used to enhance the message. So you see clear headers, use of single space, they're including an extra space in between the paragraphs to help separate them. They're not indenting. They're also, as you can see here in the project rationale, using shorter paragraphs so that the reader can skim a little more easily. So these are some considerations you want to make too. Here there's a header and then a subheader, so they're breaking down this larger section into individual sections. They're also making sure that they're using the guidelines provided in the Essentials of Technical Communication in terms of the sections that they want to include, and they're being pretty concise with each section. And here in the task breakdown, for instance, they use a table. The table could be improved, but a table is a really effective tool to use in your reports, both the proposal and the recommendation report. So as you read through this, you can understand some of the things that they did well. Some of the things that they should have worked on are some of the stylistics. So one of the reasons this wasn't an A level proposal is that it's a little underdeveloped, or it needs a little more work in terms of stylistics. So for instance, here in the project summary should provide an overview of the project itself and what is being proposed. So it gives the reader a sense of the entire proposal. But what you start to see is when you read the project summary is that they kind of just reiterate items from the summary and the body, in the sense that they don't really take it past where they introduce it. So there's a little bit of development issue as well. So those two issues, development, needing to expand on ideas and incorporate more source material, is one reason, and the other is some of the ways the sentences are phrased and the style overall here. So read through that, and I hope you can understand what they did well and what maybe they want to work on as they go. And what might help you with that is the second proposal, which is the one focusing on the pet education. This proposal was really interesting because they turned in a proposal that just wasn't solid. But they revised it pretty significantly, and it was much, much more effective once they revised it. So unfortunately, they don't have a project summary so that you can see, but you can see the way they've broken up the introduction into these shorter paragraphs, unlike the other one. And they shifted the tone from being sort of accusing people of like throwing away their pets to being more balanced and less biased or less subjective sounding. So they elevated the tone to be more objective. And so when you're working on a problem such as this one, where it's really easy to be very opinionated about it, and hopefully all of you are working on a project that you feel really passionately about, the challenge is to make sure that you're phrasing your sentences and the overall argument in a way that isn't relying on opinion or making it sound like you're accusing different people of wrongdoing or whatever have you. So here you can see that despite the fact that the proposal is focusing on something that's fairly awful, which is people having to return their pets, they were able to shift the tone to sound a little more objective versus accusing people of throwing their pets away, basically. It shows a more nuanced understanding of the problem because not everybody who gives away their pets wants to give away their pet. They sometimes have to for other reasons. So it still has little vestiges of that bias, but at the same time it works toward being less biased. The other thing you can see here that they've done in their introduction is they've included a large number of citations. So they're really rooting their introduction in what their research. So they've done quite a bit of research and they're trying to incorporate it here really solidly. That's something that's missing a little bit from the other proposal, partly because they didn't do as much research and partly because they felt like they didn't have as much research to do. Here on this proposal too, you can see that they've used a memorandum format, and that's pretty typical for a more informal report or even a proposal, like an internal proposal. You don't have to use this format. In fact, I would recommend probably not using this. They were just using this as a place to start, or they were basing it on a model that I had offered them. However, you can see they also include section headers, they include page numbers. They could play around a little bit more with their formatting here to be more effective, such as keeping the header on the same page as the content so it's not isolated. But again, they've included sections that they need. They've broken up the paragraphs into shorter paragraphs. They're using lists and bullets in order to use all the tools available to them. And they're being really clear with everything. And again, this is the product of much revision. So what you see here has gone through a revision after I commented on it. So that's just a brief overview of the proposals and what I'm looking for in those proposals. I will conference with you with this assignment and your group, and of course you're welcome to reach out to me to make sure that you're on the right track as you're working on it or at any stage of the development of your idea to the writing of the project. So good luck with your proposals, and I'm really looking forward to reading what you come up with.